Hapkido means path of coordination and power of inner energy. Hap refers to coordination and key to vital energy given to us by the universe. We can consider its origin and nationality as being both Japanese and Korean, as Choi Yong-Sul learned all his skills in Japan and later moved back to Korea, where he developed his own style.
It is the result from the fusion of Daito Ryu Eiki Jutsu with Taekyon, being the Taekyon an ancient Korean art known for its powerful hands and kick attacks. Choi Yong-Sool founded it as a style in 1958. The principle or concept of Hapkido consists of the very dynamic application of both gentle and intense techniques, such as striking, dodging, throwing, immobilizing, strangling and joint locking.
The history of human presence in Korea dates back approximately 30,000 years and is shrouded in tribal warfare. About 4,300 years ago, the first traces of civilization and cities appeared, having since evolved to, about 2,000 years ago, 3 kingdoms were formed on the Korean peninsula and, from then on, that time is precisely known as the era of the 3 kingdoms. Buddhism took root as the official religion of the 3 kingdoms, and with Buddhism came a set of Indian influences.
From that period, economics, literature and the arts developed. The martial arts, due to all the circumstances experienced at the time, were also developing and, given their proximity, they were transmitted to neighboring countries such as Japan and China, societies with which Korea always had an intense commercial and cultural exchange. In the 6th century AD appeared the first records of a warrior culture called Hwa-rang, flowering knights, that stood out for the practice of martial arts, as well as for poetry and painting, being distinguished intellectuals of the time. The war disputes eventually gave rise to the unification of Korea with great influence of the Hwa-rang, resulting in the appearance of the dynasty with the longest longevity in the history of Asia, the Silla dynasty, which lasted for 992 years.
Korean-born Choi Yong-Sul went to Japan at a young age where he studied martial arts, becoming at one point a disciple of Master Takeda Sokaku along with Morihei Ueshiba, who would later found Aikido. As Choi Yong-Sul was Korean and there were, at the time, restrictions on teaching Japanese martial arts to foreigners, there are not many written records of Choi Yong-Sul's passage through the Takeda Sokaku school, and references to that period were all passed by oral tradition.
In an interview given in New York in 1980, Chin Il-chong, one of Choi's first disciples, referred to Choi as having been adopted at age 11 by Takeda, who renamed Choi with the Japanese name Yoshida Asao. But, most likely, Choi must have been chosen, very young, as Takeda's servant and remained so until his master's death.
Presumably Choi's excellent physical aplomb and technical ability led Master Takeda Sokaku to ignore the impeding regulations and welcome Choi as a normal student. It is known that Morihei Ueshiba, founder of Aikido, referred to Choi as one of the seniors of Daito Ryu Eiki Jutsu, and probably the tension between Japanese and Koreans due to the occupation of Korea by Japan at that time in history led to the suppression of the names of Koreans from Takeda's student list.
After the death of Takeda Sokaku and having lived for 30 years in Japan, Choi Yong-Sul decides to leave the service of his master's family and return to Korea, where he began to teach his version of what he had learned with Master Takeda Sokaku, but incorporating a very strong component of Korean traditional martial arts and came to call it Hapkido. However, initially Choi started by naming it Daedong Ryu Yu-sul, which is the literal translation of Daito Ryu Eiki Jutsu into Korean. Hapkido then went through a long process of adaptation, a period in which it was given various names such as Yu-Kwan-sul, Yu-Sool, Ho-Shin-Yu-Do, and Bai-Sool, until finally in 1958, Choi adopted the name of Hapkido.
In the beginning, punching and kicking techniques were not used, and this important component of Hapkido was added later by Choi's first disciples, influenced by the great dynamics that these techniques brought to martial arts. The technical systematization of Hapkido, although under various influences, is attributed to Chinil Chang, one of Choi Yong-Sul's first disciples and the one to whom Choi assigned the responsibility of managing Hapkido from 1985.